The grand chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with tension as representatives from 1,000 worlds gathered in emergency session. Ambassador Trell of the Sicari stood before the assembled delegates, his forearms trembling with barely controlled fear. Behind him, holographic displays showed world after world falling to the advancing Varkoth Empire. Colonies burned, cities crumbled, millions fled as refugees while millions more simply vanished into Varkoth labor camps. "We are losing this war," Trell said, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. "The Varkoth fleet grows stronger with each conquest. Our defenses cannot hold much longer. We must consider options we have previously dismissed as impossible." Council Speaker Zenth, an ancient being whose crystalline body had witnessed 3 centuries of galactic peace, leaned forward on his elevated platform. "What options do you speak of, Ambassador? We have already committed every available warship to the defense lines." Trell hesitated, knowing how his next words would sound. "In the oldest archives of my people there are stories. Legends of a species called humans. They came from a sector known as Sul, far beyond our current borders. The records say these beings were unlike any other species in the galaxy. They were warriors without equal, survivors who refused to accept defeat under any circumstances." A ripple of uneasy laughter spread through the chamber. Several delegates exchanged knowing glances. The human myth was familiar to many species, though each culture told the story differently. Some said humans were giants who could crush steel with their bare hands. Others claimed they were master strategists who won wars through cunning rather than strength. A few believed humans were actually peaceful but became unstoppable when threatened. "The human myth again," said Ambassador Krell of the Varkoth Empire, his scarred face twisting into a sneer. "Every few generations someone suggests searching for these phantom saviors. Has anyone ever found proof they existed? No. Has anyone discovered this mysterious Sol sector? No, the humans are a children's story, nothing more. A tale ancient civilizations told themselves to feel safer in the dark." Trell's shoulders sagged. He had known this would be the reaction, but desperation had driven him to speak anyway. "The oldest ruins in the galaxy show signs of technology we still cannot fully understand. What if those ruins were human? What if they left the galaxy for reasons we don't know, and might return if called?" "Enough," Zenth said, though not unkindly. "We face a real threat that requires real solutions. The Varkoth Empire advances because they are willing to do what we are not. They sacrifice honor for victory, compassion for efficiency. We will not abandon our principles, but we must find another way." Krell stood, his military uniform decorated with medals taken from conquered worlds. "The Varkoth Empire offers peace as always. Surrender your border worlds to our protection. Accept our guidance. There need be no more death." "Slavery is not protection," Trell shot back. "Conquest is not guidance." The session dissolved into argument as so many had before. Ancient rules of procedure prevented any real action without unanimous consent, and the Varkoth delegation would never consent to measures against their own empire. The Galactic Council had been designed to prevent war through endless discussion. Now that war had come anyway, the system was paralyzed. Light years away, beyond the reach of even the most advanced sensors in the known galaxy, another meeting was taking place. Commander Jake Morrison stood at attention on the bridge of the UNS Valiant, humanity's flagship and the most advanced warship Earth had ever constructed. Around him, the command crew worked quietly at their stations, monitoring data streams from observation posts scattered throughout Council space. Admiral Lisa Hayes studied the holographic display showing the Varkoth advance. Her gray eyes, sharp despite her 50 years, tracked the enemy movements with professional interest. She had been watching this war develop for months, waiting for the right moment. That moment had finally arrived. "They're talking about us again," said Lieutenant Ben Carter from the intelligence station. Ambassador Trell just mentioned the human legends to the full council. Krell shot him down as expected. "Poor Trell," Lisa said quietly. "He has no idea how right he is, how close we actually are." Jake Morrison shifted his weight, eager to speak but waiting for permission. Lisa noticed and smiled slightly. "Go ahead, Commander. I know you're about to burst. Admiral, we've been watching for 30 years. We've learned their languages, studied their cultures, mapped their territories. We know more about the Galactic Council than most of its own members. How much longer do we wait?" "Until we're sure," Lisa replied. "First contact is not something you rush. Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back. Earth will be part of the galactic community forever. We need to be certain the time is right. With respect, Admiral, the Varkoth Empire is conquering peaceful worlds. They're enslaving populations. If we don't act soon, there won't be a galactic community left to join. Lisa nodded slowly. Jake was right, and she knew it. The decision had essentially been made weeks ago when the Varkoth fleet crossed into what Earth had designated as future colonization zones. The enemy had come too close to humanity's hidden home. But more than that, watching innocents suffer while having the power to help violated everything humanity claimed to stand for after their own devastating world wars 2 centuries ago. How long until the fleet is ready? Lisa asked. All 300 ships are in position, Admiral. We can jump in 6 hours. Then we jump in 6 hours. Prepare a message for broadcast on all council frequencies. Make it simple and direct. Tell them exactly who we are and why we're coming. Jake felt his heart rate increase. This was it. Humanity's grand entrance onto the galactic stage. For decades they had hidden in the dark, observing and learning. Now they would step into the light and nothing would ever be the same. Captain Amy Foster entered the bridge, having just come from the hangar deck where Marine units were preparing for possible ground operations. The troops are ready, Admiral. They understand this is a rescue mission, not a conquest. Rules of engagement are clear. Good. Remind them that we're not revealing ourselves as conquerors. We're revealing ourselves as protectors. The galaxy thinks humans are myths. Let's show them what we really are. In the chamber of the Galactic Council, the session was ending in frustration, as usual. Nothing had been decided. Nothing had been solved. The delegates would return to their ships and their worlds, and the Varkoth Empire would continue its advance. Ambassador Trell gathered his documents and prepared to leave. He had failed as he had known he would. The humans were myths, and myths could not save anyone. His people would have to rely on themselves, however inadequate that might prove. He had no way of knowing that 300 human warships were already accelerating toward Council space. He couldn't imagine that the myths he had mentioned so desperately were real, had been watching, and were finally ready to act. The galaxy believed humans were legends. In 6 hours, that belief would be shattered forever. The planet Nalar 4 had been peaceful for as long as anyone could remember. The Nela people were farmers and artists, beings who valued quiet contemplation and the slow cultivation of beautiful things. They had no military, no weapons capable of fighting in space. The Galactic Council had promised them protection. That promise was about to be tested. Admiral Vorn commanded the Council defense fleet from his flagship, a vessel built for patrol duties rather than serious combat. He watched the Varkoth Armada approach with growing dread. 80 warships against his 20. The mathematics of the situation were brutally simple. He couldn't win this fight. The best he could hope for was to delay the enemy long enough for civilians on Nalar 4 to evacuate. All ships defensive formation, Vorn ordered. Protect the evacuation transports. Do not engage unless fired upon first. The Varkoth fleet had no such restrictions. They opened fire while still at extreme range, their weapons tearing through the Council ship's shields like they were paper. Vorn's flagship shuddered under the impact. Damage reports flooded in from every ship in his small fleet. On the surface of Nalar the 4, millions of Nela watched the sky with growing horror. Streaks of light marked where ships were burning in orbit. The thunder of explosions rolled across continents. This was the first time in 3 generations that war had come to a Council world. They had believed themselves safe. They had been wrong. Sir, we're losing the eastern flank, reported Vorn's tactical officer. 3 ships destroyed, 2 more severely damaged. The evacuation transports are exposed. Vorn gripped the arms of his command chair. He was about to order a suicide run to protect the transports, when his sensor officer cried out in shock. Multiple contacts emerging from faster-than-light travel. Massive energy signatures, unlike anything in our database. Configuration unknown. Technology unknown. Their positioning between us and the Varkoth fleet. On every screen throughout the Council fleet, impossible images appeared. 300 warships materialized from nowhere, their sleek hulls unlike any design in galactic records. They moved with precision, forming a defensive wall that completely blocked the Varkoth advance. Each ship bristled with weapons that even experienced military officers couldn't identify. Aboard the UNS Valiant, Commander Jake Morrison watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The fleet had executed the jump perfectly. Every ship was exactly where it needed to be. Now came the crucial moment. Open all channels, Admiral Lisa Hayes ordered. Broadcast on every frequency the Council uses. Jake activated the communication system. His voice, speaking perfect galactic standard, echoed across space to every ship in the system and every receiver on Nelar 4. This is Commander Jake Morrison, of the United Nations ship Valiant, representing humanity and the planet Earth. We are responding to unprovoked aggression in this sector. Varkoth vessels, stand down immediately. You are interfering with a protected world. Withdraw your forces or face the consequences. On the Varkoth flagship, Commander Kravik stared at the transmission in disbelief. Humans, the myths were real. Impossible. This had to be some sort of trick. Perhaps a new Council deception. He studied the strange warships with a tactical eye. They were large, certainly, and numerous. But his fleet had crushed every enemy it had ever faced. These newcomers would be no different. All ships ignore the unknown contacts and continue the attack, Kravik ordered. Destroy these pretenders along with the Council fleet. The Varkoth armada opened fire. Energy weapons and missiles streaked toward the human formation. It was the last mistake many of those ships would ever make. Hostile fire detected, reported the tactical officer aboard the Valiant. Shields holding at 98%. Minimal damage, might return fire, Lisa said calmly. Show them what real weapons look like. The human fleet responded with devastating precision. Railguns accelerated metal projectiles to impossible speeds. Plasma cannons burned through armor like it was nothing. Missile systems overwhelmed Varkoth defenses through sheer volume and sophistication. Within minutes, 20 Varkoth warships were destroyed outright. 15 more were crippled and drifting. Jake watched the battle with mixed emotions. This was necessary. The Varkoth had fired first, had refused to withdraw. But seeing ships die, even enemy ships, never felt good. That was something that separated humans from true monsters. They understood the cost of violence even when violence was necessary. Kravik couldn't believe what he was seeing. His flagship was under attack from weapons that shouldn't exist. His shields were failing. His armor was melting. Around him, the pride of the Varkoth fleet was being systematically dismantled by an enemy that had appeared from nowhere. Retreat, he finally screamed. All ships retreat. Emergency jump now. The surviving Varkoth vessels fled in chaos. Some jumped to faster-than-light travel damaged and would probably never make it home. Others scattered in different directions, their formations completely broken. The mighty Varkoth armada had been defeated in less than 15 minutes. Silence filled the communications channels. Every being in the system, on every ship and on the planet below, was trying to process what they had just witnessed. The humans were real. The legends were true. And they had just saved Nalar 4 from certain conquest. Admiral Vorn found his voice first. Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Vorn of the Galactic Council fleet. You have our deepest gratitude. May I ask your intentions? Lisa Hayes smiled. This was the moment they had prepared for. Admiral Vorn, humanity has been watching the galaxy for some time. We apologize for not revealing ourselves sooner. We wanted to understand your civilization before introducing ourselves. But watching innocent people suffer while we had the power to help violated our principles. We're here to assist in any way we can. We have wounded on several ships, Vorn replied, still somewhat dazed, and millions on the planet who are injured or trapped in damaged structures from the bombardment. Understood. Captain Amy Foster. Deploy rescue operations. Captain Amy Foster commanded the UNS Defender, a ship designed specifically for humanitarian missions. Her crew had trained for this moment, had practiced rescue operations in dozens of simulated scenarios. Now they would prove that humanity's power was matched by their compassion. Landing craft descended to Nalar 4's surface. Human Marines emerged not as conquerors but as rescuers. They pulled Nella from collapsed buildings. They set up medical stations and treated the injured. They distributed food and water to displaced civilians. The Nella, who had never seen a human before, watched in amazement as these powerful warriors worked tirelessly to save lives. One young Nella girl, her arm broken and her home destroyed, looked up at a human Marine who was carrying her to safety. Are you really human? She asked in her own language, which the Marine's translator converted instantly. Yes, the Marine said gently. We're really human, and we're here to help. On the bridge of the Valiant, Jake monitored the rescue operations with pride. This was what humanity was supposed to be. Strong enough to fight when necessary, but caring enough to heal when possible. Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from Karath Prime, reported the communications officer. Council Speaker Zenth himself is requesting direct communication. Lisa straightened her uniform. Put him through. The holographic image of Zenth appeared, his crystalline features showing something that might have been shock in a being capable of such emotion. Admiral Hayes, I believe we have much to discuss. The Galactic Council formally invites humanity to Karath Prime for official first contact. The galaxy has many questions, and we have many answers, Lisa replied. We'll dispatch a diplomatic delegation immediately. In the meantime, our fleet will remain in this system until we're certain Nalar 4 is secure. Understood. And Admiral, on behalf of the Galactic Council and the Nella people, thank you. We believed you were myths. We were wrong. The transmission ended. Jake looked at his Admiral with a grin. Well, we're not myths anymore. No, Lisa agreed. Now we're something more complicated. We're real. And now we have to prove we deserve the trust these people are placing in us. On Nalar 4, the rescue operations continued through the night. Human ships stood guard in orbit, their weapons tracking for any sign of Varkoth return. The galaxy had learned something today. Humans existed. They were powerful. And most importantly, they could be trusted to do the right thing. It was a beginning. Whether it would be a good one remained to be seen. The council chamber on Karath Prime had never been so crowded. Representatives from every member species pushed into the grand hall, desperate for a glimpse of the humans who had appeared so dramatically. Security forces struggled to maintain order as thousands of beings jostled for position. The air vibrated with hundreds of languages being spoken at once, all saying essentially the same thing. The humans are real. Admiral Lisa Hayes walked through the center aisle with Commander Jake Morrison at her side. Behind them came Dr. Marcus Webb, humanities lead xenoanthropologist, and Helen Brooks, the diplomatic specialist who had spent years studying Galactic Council protocols. Marine guards flanked them, not because Lisa expected violence, but because first impressions mattered. Humanity needed to project confidence and strength. The walk to the central platform felt endless. Thousands of eyes watched their every move. Some looked curious. Others appeared fearful. A few seemed hostile. Lisa kept her expression neutral and professional, the face she had worn through decades of military service. Council Speaker Zenth waited on his elevated platform, his crystalline body refracting the chamber's lights into rainbow patterns. Admiral Lisa Hayes of Earth, you and your delegation are recognized. The Galactic Council has gathered to hear the truth about humanity. Where have you been? Why did you hide? What do you want from us? Lisa took her position at the speaker's podium. Her voice was calm but carried to every corner of the vast chamber. Thank you, Council Speaker. I'll answer your questions as honestly as I can. But first I must correct a fundamental misunderstanding. Humanity did not hide from you. We were never part of your civilization to begin with. Confused murmurs rippled through the assembly. Ambassador Trell stood from his seat. But the legends speak of humans who left the galaxy 10,000 years ago. The ancient ruins scattered across our space show technology, far beyond what even we possess today. We assumed those were human. Dr. Marcus Webb stepped forward. Those ruins belonged to a species we call the predecessors. They're not human. In fact, we don't know what they were. They existed millions of years ago, traveled extensively, and then vanished completely. We've found traces of them in our own solar system. They may have visited Earth when our ancestors were still primitive, creating some of the myths and legends in our own history. Then where did the human legends come from? Asked Ambassador Krell, the Varkoth representative, his tone skeptical and hostile. Probably from misidentifying predecessor ruins, Marcus explained. Ancient species found technology they couldn't explain, invented stories to make sense of it, and those stories evolved over thousands of years. Different cultures created different versions. Some called the mysterious beings humans, others used different names. But they were all talking about the same mystery, just interpreted through their own cultural perspectives. So you're saying humans evolved completely separately? Zenth asked. You had no contact with galactic civilization until now? Exactly, Lisa confirmed. Earth is located in a region you've labeled the Empty Quarter. Your ships avoid it because the radiation levels and asteroid density make navigation difficult. We evolved there in complete isolation. We discovered faster-than-light travel 80 years ago, entirely through our own research. When we finally ventured beyond our solar system and detected your radio signals, we made a decision. We would observe and learn before revealing ourselves. You spied on us, Krell said sharply. For decades you watched us without permission. That is not the action of peaceful beings. Jake Morrison bristled at the accusation but remained silent. Lisa had warned him this would come up. We studied you, she corrected calmly. Just as you would study us if our positions were reversed. First contact is dangerous. Humanity has stories of what happens when advanced civilizations meet primitive ones. The results are usually tragic for the less advanced side. We needed to understand your civilization before exposing ourselves to it. Helen Brooks added, We learned your languages. We studied your cultures, your governments, your histories. We wanted to meet you as informed friends, not ignorant strangers. If that offends you, we apologize. But we believe it was the right choice. And now you reveal yourselves as a military force, said Ambassador Dren of the Korthari Union, a normally peaceful species that controlled significant industrial resources. You arrive with 300 warships. You demonstrate weapons technology we cannot match. You destroy a Varkoth fleet in minutes. These are not the actions of friends. These are the actions of conquerors preparing their conquest. The chamber erupted into argument. Some delegates shouted agreement with Dren. Others defended humanity's intervention on Nalar 4. The noise grew deafening until Zenth activated the chamber's sonic dampeners, forcing silence. Order. We will have order. Zenth's crystalline voice rang with authority. Admiral Hayes, you must address these concerns. Many here fear your power. Convince them they should not. Lisa took a breath. This was the crucial moment. Everything humanity hoped to achieve in the galaxy depended on what she said next. I understand your fear. Fear of the unknown is natural. Fear of power is reasonable. But let me tell you who humans really are. She paused, making eye contact with delegates throughout the chamber. 200 years ago, Earth was not united. We had hundreds of nations, and many of those nations went to war with each other. We killed millions of our own people. We built weapons capable of destroying our entire planet. We came very close to making ourselves extinct. This is supposed to make us trust you? Krell interrupted. It's supposed to make you understand us, Lisa replied firmly. We learned the hard way what war cost. We learned that strength without wisdom leads to destruction. We learned that having power means nothing if you don't use it responsibly. After our last great war, humanity made a choice. We would unite, we would explore space, and we would never allow tyranny to flourish if we had the power to stop it. Beautiful words, said Dren. But words are easy. Actions reveal truth. You claim you fight for freedom, yet you arrive with overwhelming force. How are we to know you won't turn that force against us? Jake Morrison couldn't stay silent anymore, because we already could have. We've been watching you for decades. We know where every council world is located. We know your defense capabilities. We know your resources. If we wanted to conquer you, we could have struck when you didn't even know we existed. But we didn't, we waited. We revealed ourselves only when innocent people needed help. The Nella can confirm this, added Captain Amy Foster, joining the delegation from where she had been standing with the guards. My crew spent 3 days on Nalar 4, working alongside local rescue teams. We had weapons. We had power. We had every opportunity to take control, but we didn't. We helped people and then we left, asking for nothing in return. Ambassador Trell rose slowly. I was one of those who spoke the legends of humans in desperation. I hoped myths might save us. Now I find the myths are real but different than I imagined. Perhaps better than I imagined. The humans saved my people's colony on Nalar 4. They asked for no payment. They claimed no territory. They simply helped because it was the right thing to do. That means something. It means nothing, Krell snapped. One act of charity does not erase decades of deception. The Varkoth Empire does not trust humanity, and we never will. We will defend ourselves against this new threat. Defend yourselves against what? Lisa asked. We haven't threatened you. We stopped your attack on a peaceful world. We would have done the same if any species attacked any other species without justification. This isn't about the Varkoth Empire specifically. This is about principles. What principles? Zenth asked. Freedom, self-determination, the right of peaceful beings to live without fear of conquest. These are the principles humanity holds most important. We will defend them, whether you welcome us or not, but we would prefer to defend them together, as allies rather than strangers. The chamber fell silent. Delegates looked at each other uncertain. Some were clearly convinced by Lisa's words. Others remained suspicious. A few, like Krell, were openly hostile. This was not going to be resolved in a single meeting. Zenth finally spoke. The Galactic Council must deliberate on this matter. A vote will be held to determine whether humanity shall be recognized as a member civilization. Until that time, you are granted diplomatic status but no official position. You may maintain your fleet in Council space, but hostile action against any member species will result in immediate expulsion. That's fair, Lisa agreed. We ask nothing more than the chance to prove ourselves. As the human delegation left the chamber, Jake walked close to Lisa. That went better than I expected. It went exactly as I expected, Lisa replied quietly. They're scared of us. Fear leads to two responses, aggression or curiosity. We need to encourage the curiosity and discourage the aggression. And Krell, the Varkoth Empire is going to be a problem. They won't forgive being humiliated. Keep intelligence watching them closely. Back on the UNS Valiant, Lieutenant Ben Carter was already tracking Varkoth communications. What he was finding made him very concerned. The Varkoth weren't planning to accept humanity's presence peacefully. They were planning something much worse. The question was, would he discover what before it was too late? Emperor Varkoth Prime sat on his throne of metal and bone, studying reports that grew more disturbing with each passing day. The human fleet had not left Council space. If anything, they were becoming more integrated, helping with trade route security and disaster relief. Worse, public opinion was shifting in humanity's favor. Species that had initially feared the newcomers were starting to see them as protectors rather than threats. This was unacceptable. Bring me General Drax, the Emperor commanded. General. Drax entered the throne room with confident steps. He was the Empire's master of intelligence, a being who understood that wars were won through information as much as firepower. You summoned me, Emperor? I want the humans destroyed. Not defeated. Not contained. Destroyed. Their civilization must be erased from existence. Can you accomplish this? Drax considered carefully. Not through direct military action. Their technology is superior to ours, but there are other ways to destroy an enemy. We can turn the galaxy against them. Make the Council fear them so much that they demand humanity's exile or destruction. How? False flag operations. We attack Council worlds but make it appear that humans are responsible. We steal their technology and use it against civilians. We create incidents that show humans as warlike aggressors. Eventually, the Council will have no choice but to act against them. The Emperor smiled, revealing pointed teeth. Do it, spare no expense. Use any resource. I want humanity driven from the galaxy. Lieutenant Ben Carter sat in the intelligence center of the UNS Valiant, surrounded by holographic displays showing data from 1,000 sources. He had been monitoring Varkoth communications for weeks, looking for any sign of retaliation. What he had found was worse than expected. Admiral, you need to see this, Ben said urgently. Lisa Hayes arrived within minutes, along with Jake Morrison. Ben pulled up intercepted transmissions. The Varkoth are planning something big. I've detected unusual ship movements, encrypted communications with the Draxian Horde, and massive resource allocations to their intelligence division. They're up to something. The Draxian Horde? Jake frowned. They're nomadic raiders from the Rim. Why would the Varkoth ally with them? Because together they represent a significant military force, Lisa said grimly. What kind of operation are we looking at? I'm not sure yet. The communications are heavily encrypted, but I've picked up fragments, something about human weapons and Council targets and inevitable war. I think they're planning to frame us for attacks on Council worlds. Lisa felt cold certainty settle in her stomach. False flag operations? They'll attack using weapons that look human, or stolen human technology. The Council will blame us. Even our allies will turn against us. We need proof, Jake said. We can't accuse the Varkoth of conspiracy without evidence. The Council barely trusts us as it is. Then we get proof, Lisa decided. Ben, where would the Varkoth conduct this kind of operation? They need a base where they can prepare stolen or fabricated human weapons. Ben manipulated the displays, running analysis algorithms. Based on resource movements and ship tracking, I've identified 3 possible locations. The most likely is an asteroid base in the Koro Belt, near the border between Varkoth and Council space. It's remote, heavily defended, and has recent construction activity that doesn't match any legitimate purpose. That's our target. Commander Morrison put together an infiltration team. We're going in quietly. If we're right, we get evidence and stop the operation. If we're wrong, no one needs to know we were suspicious. And if we're discovered, then we've just started the war the Varkoth want us to start. Don't get discovered. 2 days later, Jake Morrison led a team of 12 specialists toward the Koro Belt in a modified stealth ship. Captain Amy Foster was with him, along with Lieutenant Ben Carter and a squad of Marine scouts. The ship was silent, running on minimal power to avoid detection. Approaching the target, reported the pilot. I'm reading heavy defenses. Automated weapons platforms, patrol ships, and what looks like a reinforced station built into the asteroid itself. Can you get us close? Jake asked. I can get you to the outer perimeter. After that, you'll need to use suits for final approach. And hope their sensors are as bad as we think they are. They suited up in powered armor designed for stealth operations. Each suit was matte black, equipped with active camouflage and minimal heat signature. They launched from the ship in silence, using maneuvering thrusters to drift toward the asteroid base. Jake watched the distance close with mounting tension. If they were detected now, there would be no escape. The defenses would cut them apart before they could reach cover. But the automated systems swept past without reacting. The active camouflage was working. They landed on the asteroid's surface near what appeared to be a maintenance airlock. Amy Foster attached electronic bypass to the lock's controls while Ben monitored for security alerts. Minutes passed in tense silence before Amy nodded. We're in. Stay quiet and stay sharp. The interior of the base was industrial and cold. Dim lighting revealed corridors lined with equipment and supply containers. They moved in tactical formation, weapons ready. The facility appeared mostly automated, with few living guards. That made infiltration easier but also more suspicious. What were the Varkoth building here that required so much secrecy? They found the answer in the main research lab. Through armored windows, they could see Varkoth scientists working on weapons that made Jake's blood run cold. Human railguns, human plasma cannons, human missile systems, all of them clearly stolen or reverse-engineered from captured technology. Get recordings of everything, Jake whispered. We need documentation. Ben activated his suit's cameras, capturing every angle. They've got enough firepower here to outfit a small fleet. And look at those crates. Those are human weapon components. They must have salvaged them from Nalar 4 after the battle. Amy moved to a computer terminal and began downloading data. I'm pulling their files. Construction schedules, target lists, communication logs. This is everything we need to prove the conspiracy. An alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. Jake cursed. We've been detected. Everyone out now. They ran for the airlock but found their path blocked by Varkoth soldiers. A firefight erupted in the narrow corridor. Human weapons proved superior, but they were outnumbered. Jake provided covering fire while his team retreated. The airlock is compromised, reported one of the Marines. They've sealed it remotely. We need another exit. The hangar bay, Amy said, checking the facility map she had downloaded. There should be emergency shuttles. If we can reach them, we can escape. They fought their way through the base. Jake lost count of the enemies they encountered. His armor took several hits but held. Not everyone was so lucky. 2 Marines went down, their suits breached by Varkoth weapons. They were dead before hitting the floor. The hangar bay was chaos. Varkoth soldiers took defensive positions behind cargo containers. An automated defense turret tracked their movement. But the emergency shuttles were visible on the far side of the bay, tantalizingly close. Ben, can you disable that turret? Jake asked. Give me 30 seconds. Ben connected to the base's network through a wall terminal, his fingers flying across controls. The turret swiveled away, confused by false targeting data. Go, it won't last long! They sprinted across the bay under heavy fire. Jake felt impacts against his armor, each one a hammer blow that nearly knocked him down. He kept moving. Behind him, another Marine fell. They were taking casualties they couldn't afford. Amy reached the nearest shuttle and blasted the controls. The door opened. Everyone in, hurry! Jake was last through the door, still firing to cover the retreat. The shuttle launched before the door fully closed. Varkoth weapons tracked them, but the shuttle's armor held long enough to reach minimum safe distance. The pilot engaged the jump drive and they vanished into faster-than-light travel. In the silence after the jump, Jake assessed their situation. 4 Marines dead, 3 wounded, but they had what they came for. Proof of the Varkoth conspiracy. Evidence that would show the galaxy who the real threat was. Did we get everything? He asked Ben. Everything. Construction plans, target lists, communications with the Draxian horde. It's all here. They were planning to attack 6 council worlds simultaneously, using human weapons. They would have blamed us for the deaths of millions. Amy pulled up one of the files. Her face went pale. Jake, look at this. The attacks are scheduled to begin in 72 hours. We didn't stop the operation. We just exposed it. The Varkoth will accelerate their timeline now that they know we're aware. Jake felt sick. They had gotten proof, but at what cost? The Varkoth would attack sooner than planned, possibly before the council could be warned or defenses could be prepared. People were going to die, maybe millions of people, and humanity would be blamed unless they could convince the council of the truth. Set course for Karath Prime, Jake ordered. Best speed. Admiral Hayes needs to see this immediately. As the shuttle raced toward council space, Jake stared at the downloaded files. They had what they needed to prove humanity's innocence. But would they be able to stop the attack before it was too late? And even if they did, how many lives would be lost in the process? The Galactic Council chamber was in turmoil when Admiral Lisa Hayes arrived with Commander Jake Morrison and the stolen intelligence. Council Speaker Zenth called for order repeatedly, but delegates were shouting over each other. The vote on humanity's membership had been scheduled for today, but now it seemed trivial compared to the accusations flying back and forth. Ambassador Krell stood at the center of the storm, his voice carrying over the chaos. The humans infiltrated a sovereign Varkoth facility. They attacked our personnel without provocation. They stole classified information. This is an act of war. It was a spy base. Jake shot back, unable to remain silent. You were building weapons to frame us for attacks on innocent worlds. Prove it, Krell sneered. Show this council your supposed evidence. Lisa stepped forward, her bearing commanding attention. We can prove it. Dr. Webb, display the files. Marcus Webb activated holographic projectors throughout the chamber. Files appeared in the air for all to see. Construction schedules for weapons reverse-engineered from human technology. Target lists showing 6 council worlds selected for attack. Communications between Varkoth commanders and Draxian warlords planning coordination. Most damning of all, explicit orders from Emperor Varkoth Prime himself to create a false flag operation that would turn the galaxy against humanity. Silence fell as delegates read the evidence. Even those who had been suspicious of humanity couldn't deny what they were seeing. The plan was detailed, methodical, and utterly ruthless. Millions would have died and humanity would have been blamed for every death. This is fabricated, Krell said, but his voice lacked conviction. Human technology could easily create false documents. The encryption keys are Varkoth, Ben Carter said, appearing on screen from the Valiant. The communication protocols match your military's standard patterns. The construction materials in those weapons match resources from Varkoth-controlled systems. We can prove the authenticity of every file, unless you're suggesting your own encryption and protocols are easily faked. Krell had no answer. The evidence was overwhelming. Ambassador Dren rose slowly. If this is true, and I believe it is, then the Varkoth Empire has committed an act of war against the entire Galactic Council. Not just against humanity, but against all of us. These attacks were designed to destabilize our entire civilization. The attacks haven't happened yet, Lisa said urgently. According to the files, they were scheduled to begin in 72 hours. But now that the Varkoth know we've discovered their plan, they'll move faster. They might attack at any moment. Then we must prepare defenses, Zenth declared. All council fleets to maximum alert. The targeted worlds must be evacuated. There isn't time, Jake said flatly. 6 worlds, millions of civilians, and we have maybe hours instead of days. The Varkoth and Draxian forces are already in position. Even if we dispatch every available ship, we can't protect all 6 targets simultaneously. Then what do you propose? Asked Ambassador Trell. Lisa took a deep breath. This was the moment. Let humanity handle it. Our fleet is already deployed. We have the technology and tactical expertise. Give us authorization to defend the targeted worlds, and we'll stop this attack. You want us to give you military authority over council worlds? Krell laughed harshly. This is exactly what I warned about. The humans use this crisis they probably created themselves to seize power. We didn't create this crisis, Amy Foster said, her voice hard. My people died getting that intelligence. We lost 4 Marines in that base. If we wanted to frame you, we could have done it without sacrificing our own. Zenth raised a crystalline hand for silence. The council must vote. Do we authorize humanity to defend the targeted worlds? This is unprecedented. We are granting military authority to a species that isn't even formally a council member. We don't have time for formal procedures, Trell argued. People are about to die. The humans can save them. Everything else is politics, the vote was called. It wasn't unanimous. Many delegates abstained, unwilling to commit. Some voted against, still suspicious of human intentions. But enough voted in favor that authorization was granted. Humanity would defend the council worlds. Lisa wasted no time. As soon as the vote concluded, she opened communications to the fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Hayes. Execute Defense Protocol Omega. 6 targets, simultaneous deployment. Every world gets 50 ships. Move fast and hit hard. We're humanity's introduction to galactic warfare. Make it count. The Earth Defense Fleet split into 6 groups and jumped to faster-than-light travel. They arrived at their targets within the hour, just as Varkoth and Draxian forces were beginning their attacks. At the world of Pella III, Commander Jake Morrison led the defense aboard the Valiant. The enemy fleet was larger than expected. 60 Varkoth warships and 40 Draxian raiders, all bearing stolen human weapons. They had already begun bombardment when the human fleet arrived. All ships, defensive formation around the planet, Jake ordered. Fighter squadrons, intercept their bombers. Capital ships, engage their heavy cruisers. Do not let anything reach the surface. The battle was intense from the first moment. The Varkoth and Draxian forces fought with desperate fury. Knowing this was their last chance to achieve their goal, human ships took damage, shields failing under concentrated fire. But they held the line. Sergeant Kyle Davis led Marine boarding parties onto crippled enemy ships, securing them before they could self-destruct and rain debris on the planet below. His team fought through corridors facing enemies who knew they would receive no mercy. Kyle didn't enjoy the killing, but he understood its necessity. Every enemy ship they captured was one less threat to the civilians below. At the world of Hendara, Captain Amy Foster coordinated defense with local forces. The planetary government had activated emergency shelters, but millions were still exposed. Amy positioned her ship, the Defender, directly above the largest population center, using it as a shield to intercept incoming fire. "Captain, we're taking heavy damage," her tactical officer reported. "Shields at 40% and falling. Hold position," Amy ordered. "Those people down there can't evacuate in time. We hold until they're safe." The Defender shuddered under enemy fire, armor buckling, systems failing. But the ship held together through sheer determination and good engineering. When the last civilian transport lifted off from the surface, Amy finally ordered her ship to fall back. They had saved 2 million lives and survived to tell about it. On each of the 6 worlds, similar battles played out. Human ships fought with a combination of advanced technology and tactical flexibility that the more rigid Varkoth forces couldn't match. When frontal assault failed, humans used flanking maneuvers. When shields proved insufficient, they used the planets themselves as cover. They adapted, improvised, and never stopped fighting. The tide began to turn. Varkoth commanders, realizing their plan had failed, started retreating. But the Draxian forces, bound by honor codes that prevented withdrawal once battle was joined, fought to the death. It was brutal, tragic, and necessary. After 6 hours of continuous combat, the attacks were repelled. Every council world survived. Casualties were lighter than anyone had dared hope. The enemy fleets were destroyed or scattered. Humanity had proven itself in the most definitive way possible. In the council chamber on Kareth Prime, delegates watched the battle reports in stunned silence. The humans had done exactly what they promised. They had defended council worlds at great cost to themselves. 19 human ships were destroyed. Hundreds of personnel were dead. But they had succeeded. Council Speaker Zenth stood before the assembly. "I call for an immediate vote on humanity's admission to the Galactic Council. All in favor?" The vote was overwhelming. Even some who had opposed humanity's admission before couldn't deny what they had witnessed. The humans were real. They were powerful. And most importantly, they could be trusted to do what was right even when it cost them dearly. Ambassador Krell stood abruptly. "The Varkoth Empire withdraws from the Galactic Council. We will not be part of a civilization that welcomes warmongers and spies. The Varkoth Empire is hereby expelled for crimes against the Council," Zenth declared. "You are no longer protected by Council law. Your attempted false flag operation is an act of war against all member species. Emperor Varkoth Prime will be tried for war crimes. Krell stormed from the chamber. It didn't matter. The Varkoth Empire's power was broken. Their conspiracy had failed. Their fleets were scattered. They would face justice, one way or another. Admiral Lisa Hayes accepted the Council's formal recognition of humanity on behalf of Earth. We didn't reveal ourselves to join your debates or participate in your politics. We came because we saw people suffering and had the power to help. That hasn't changed. We're not here to lead you or control you. We're here to stand with you, as allies, as friends, as equals. Ambassador Trell approached her after the ceremony. You saved my people twice now. First on Nalar 4, now again. How does one thank beings who keep giving everything and asking nothing in return? You don't need to thank us, Lisa said simply. You just need to do the same when others need help. That's how civilization survives. We look out for each other. Weeks later, Commander Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the Valiant, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The fleet had returned,